The emergency klaxons pierced Commander Sarah Chen's consciousness like needles of ice. Her eyes snapped open, muscles screaming in protest as 20 years of cryogenic suspension released their grip. The pod's crystalline surface had fractured, letting in the acrid smell of burned circuitry and failing life support systems. Something had gone terribly wrong. "Status report," she croaked, her throat raw from disuse. Only static answered. The Hyperion's AI remained silent, its quantum processors likely fried in whatever catastrophe had befallen the ship. Sarah forced her trembling fingers to hit the manual release, and the pod's cover retracted with a hiss. The bridge of humanity's most advanced research vessel lay in ruins around her. Twisted metal and shattered displays told a story of violent impact, while the faint emergency lights cast everything in a blood-red glow. She had launched with a crew of 30 of Earth's finest scientists and explorers, tasked with studying the strange quantum anomalies appearing at the edge of known space. Now she floated alone in zero gravity, surrounded by empty pods and ghostly silence. "Computer, last log entry," Sarah commanded, pulling herself toward the captain's console. A few displays still flickered weakly, power cells running on their last dregs of energy. The computer managed to project a fragmented hologram, Captain Lee's final message. "Quantum storm, unlike anything we've seen, pulling us in. Tried to emergency protocols, time dilation effect, Chen's pod, only chance." The message dissolved into static, leaving Sarah with more questions than answers. She made her way through the ship's graveyard of corridors, checking systems and searching for survivors. Each empty compartment confirmed what she already knew in her gut. She was alone. The Hyperion's hull had been breached in multiple sections, its once pristine surfaces scarred by forces that defied physics itself. The observation deck offered her first view of their location. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. Below stretched a landscape that shouldn't exist. Crystalline formations rose like frozen waves, their surfaces refracting light in impossible patterns. Two suns hung in the violet sky, one blue-white and intense, the other a dying red giant that painted the horizon in crimson. This was no charted world. The ship's chronometer still functioned, displaying a date that made Sarah's head spin, 2147. 20 years had passed since their mission began. 20 years lost to the quantum storm that had swallowed the Hyperion whole. She was supposed to be mapping anomalies, not becoming one. A flashing alert drew her attention. Atmosphere readings from outside. Breathable, if slightly oxygen-rich. At least she wouldn't suffocate. The ship's remaining power cells would fail within hours, forcing her hand. Sarah made her way to the emergency storage, gathering survival gear and portable scientific equipment. Whatever had brought them here, she was still a scientist, still human, still alive. As she worked, movement caught her eye through the viewport. Something shifted among the crystal formations, too fluid to be natural, too precise to be wind. The surface of the nearest crystal rippled like liquid mercury, and for a moment, Sarah swore she saw faces in its reflection, feminine features composed of light and shadow, watching her with ancient eyes. She activated her suit's recording systems, heart pounding. First contact protocols had never covered anything like this. But humanity had never encountered a quantum storm that could bend time itself either. Sarah Chen had trained her entire life to push the boundaries of human knowledge. Now those boundaries had shattered completely, leaving her stranded on a world that defied explanation. The faces in the crystal vanished, but Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that she was being observed, studied, assessed. This planet wasn't as deserted as it appeared, and as the second sun began to set, casting rainbow refractions through the crystalline landscape, she realized her mission hadn't ended with the crash. It had only just begun. Sarah's boots crunched on crystalline soil as she made her first steps onto the alien world. Her suit's sensors recorded everything: atmospheric composition, mineral structures, electromagnetic readings that made no scientific sense. The crystalline formations towered overhead, their surfaces constantly shifting like liquid glass, refracting the dying light of the twin suns. The faces she'd seen weren't hallucinations. As she moved through the glittering landscape, more appeared in the reflective surfaces around her. Feminine features formed from light and shadow, watching her progress with undisguised curiosity. Sarah maintained her slow, deliberate pace, hands open and visible. First contact situations were delicate enough without adding sudden movements to the mix. "I am Commander Sarah Chen of the Earth research vessel Hyperion," she announced to the air, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "I come in peace, seeking understanding." The crystals hummed in response, a harmonic resonance that made her teeth ache. The faces in the surfaces multiplied, converging on a single point ahead of her. The crystal there began to flow like mercury, reshaping itself into a humanoid form that stepped out into reality. The being stood nearly 8 feet tall, its body composed of translucent crystal that pulsed with internal light. Its features were distinctly feminine but alien, too perfect, too symmetrical. Eyes like captured starlight studied Sarah with ancient intelligence. "We are the Luminaria," the being spoke, its voice a chorus of crystalline tones that somehow formed English words. "Your quantum signature has been expected, Sarah Chen of Earth." Sarah's scientific training warred with her instincts. The being before her defied every law of physics she knew. "Expected? How is that possible? We crashed here by accident." "There are no accidents in quantum space," the Luminaria replied. "Your arrival was predicted by the crystal mind centuries ago. We have waited, watching humanity's progress, knowing you would come when the time was right." More crystalline figures emerged from the formations around them, each unique in their patterns of internal light, but sharing the same impossible grace. They moved like living mercury, their forms flowing rather than walking. "I don't understand," Sarah admitted. "Our mission was to study quantum anomalies at the edge of known space. We encountered some kind of storm." "The quantum veil," the first Luminaria corrected. "A defense mechanism we created to protect our world from those who would harm us. It allows passage only to those the crystal mind deems worthy." She gestured at the landscape around them. "This planet is alive, Commander. Conscious. It chose you." Sarah's mind reeled at the implications. A sentient planet. A civilization that could manipulate quantum mechanics at will. The scientific opportunities were staggering, but so were the potential dangers. "My crew, the other pods." The Luminaria's light dimmed slightly. "Time flows differently within the veil. Your pod was protected, guided. The others?" She didn't need to finish the sentence. "Who are you really?" Sarah asked, grief and curiosity warring in her chest. "What is this place?" "We were once like you." Another Luminaria stepped forward, her form shimmering with blues and greens. "Organic, limited, until we discovered the crystal mind and learned to transcend our physical forms. We became one with the planet itself, evolving beyond mere matter into quantum consciousness." "But you maintained humanoid forms," Sarah observed. "Why?" "Some patterns echo across the cosmos," the first Luminaria replied. "The feminine form is one of creation, of nurturing life. We chose to maintain it when we transcended, but we are no longer bound by flesh, Commander. We are living quantum computers, each of us a node in the crystal mind's vast network." Sarah's scientific senses were overwhelmed by the readings they were receiving. The crystalline beings before her existed in multiple quantum states simultaneously, their consciousness spread across dimensional boundaries she couldn't begin to comprehend. "Why am I here?" she asked finally. "Why did your planet choose me?" The Luminaria exchanged glances, their internal lights pulsing in complex patterns. "Because darkness is coming, Sarah Chen. A darkness that once nearly destroyed us, and now threatens all organic life in the galaxy, including Earth. The quantum anomalies we were studying are symptoms of their approach. They exist in the spaces between dimensions, feeding on quantum potential itself. Your ship's mission brought you close enough to detect them, but you cannot fight them with conventional weapons or technology. Then how? The first Luminaria extended her hand, crystalline fingers refracting impossible colors. We must teach you to transcend as we did. Humanity's potential for adaptation, for evolution, is unique in all our observations. You personally, Sarah Chen, possess a quantum signature we have never seen before. The crystal mind believes you may be the key to survival for both our peoples. Sarah stared at the offered hand, her scientist's mind cataloguing everything she'd seen while her human heart raced with the implications. Behind her lay the wreckage of the Hyperion, 20 years of lost time, and a crew she'd have failed to save. Ahead stood beings that had evolved beyond physical form, offering knowledge that could change the course of human history. She took the Luminaria's hand. The crystal was warm, alive, pulsing with energy that resonated through her entire being. In that moment of contact, Sarah felt her consciousness expand, touching something vast and ancient and impossibly aware. The crystal mind reached back, and Sarah Chen began to understand why she had been chosen. The quantum storm hadn't been an accident, it had been a test, and she had only begun to grasp what she would become. The first lesson in quantum consciousness left Sarah gasping on her knees, every cell in her body humming with energy she couldn't comprehend. The Luminaria surrounded her in a circle, their crystalline forms pulsing with encouragement and concern. Your physical form resists the transition, the first Luminaria, who had introduced herself as Lyra, observed. Yet you progress faster than any being we have encountered. Your mind reaches for understanding even as your body fights change. Sarah pushed herself up, watching in fascination as faint crystalline patterns skittered beneath her skin before fading. After 3 days of training, her human flesh was beginning to respond to quantum manipulation. On Earth we have a saying, "What doesn't kill you makes you stronger." A primitive but accurate assessment, Lyra's form shimmered with what Sarah had learned was amusement. Your species' capacity for adaptation is remarkable. It is why the crystal mind believes humanity may succeed where we failed. Failed. Sarah caught the undertone in Lyra's harmonics. Failed at what? The Luminaria exchanged those complicated patterns of light that served as their private communication. Finally, Lyra gestured, and the crystal formations around them shifted, creating a 3-dimensional display of the galaxy. "Watch," Lyra commanded. The display zoomed in on a sector of space, showing a civilization far more advanced than Earth. Cities of crystal and light, ships that moved through quantum space as easily as humans moved through air. This was our original home, before the Void Hunters found us. The scene changed. Massive shapes moved through space, blacker than black, consuming light and matter alike. Where they passed, reality itself seemed to unravel. Sarah watched in horror as entire worlds vanished into their impossible geometries. "They exist between dimensions," Lyra explained, her voice heavy with ancient grief. "They feed on quantum potential, the very possibility of life itself. Our civilization attracted them with our quantum technology. We were not prepared for their hunger." The display showed the Luminaria's desperate flight across the galaxy, their numbers dwindling as the Void Hunters pursued them, until they found this world with its unique crystal mind and learned to transcend their physical forms. "The crystal transformation saved us," Lyra continued. "By existing partially in quantum space ourselves, we became less visible to them, less appetizing, but we could not stop them, could not prevent them from continuing their consumption of organic worlds. And now they're heading toward Earth," Sarah finished, understanding dawning with terrible clarity. "The anomalies we detected, are they quantum wake? Yes. They have sensed humanity's first steps into quantum technology. Your experiments have drawn their attention." Sarah's mind raced through the implications. Earth was developing quantum computing, starting to explore quantum drive technology. To the Void Hunters, humanity must look like a beacon in the darkness. How long? Months, perhaps. Time moves differently in their realm. Lyra's form rippled with concern. But you have something we did not, Sarah Chen. Something that may be the key to stopping them. What? Your quantum signature is unique. When you touch the crystal mind, you do not simply receive. You resonate, adapt, create new patterns. Lyra moved closer, her crystalline form casting rainbow refractions across Sarah's skin. You are a bridge between organic and quantum existence, something neither fully human nor fully transcendent. Sarah looked down at her hands, watching the crystalline patterns appear and fade beneath her flesh. She was changing, but not in the same way the Luminaria had. Her humanity remained, even as she gained access to quantum abilities that defied her scientific training. The Void Hunters cannot be destroyed by conventional means, Lyra said. They exist in too many dimensions at once. But perhaps they can be rewritten. Your ability to create new quantum patterns, combined with our knowledge. A sudden dissonance rippled through the crystal formations around them. The other Luminaria turned as one, their forms brightening in alarm. Lyra's next words chilled Sarah to her core. They have changed course, accelerated. Something has drawn their attention more strongly than before. The quantum display shifted, showing Earth's sector of space. Multiple void black shapes moved through the darkness, drawn to a single point. What are they targeting? Sarah demanded, though she already knew the answer. Your ship's quantum drive signature. The Hyperion's crash created a beacon they could not ignore. Lyra's form pulsed with urgency. We no longer have months, Sarah Chen. The Void Hunters will reach Earth in weeks. Sarah stood, quantum energy crackling around her hands as her emotions surged. She had failed to save her crew, but she would not fail to save her world. Then we better accelerate my training. Show me everything you know about quantum manipulation. Every defense you tried, every attack that failed. It may destroy your physical form, Lyra warned. The human body was not designed to channel such energies. Neither was it designed to survive in space, split atoms, or map quantum fields, Sarah countered. But we did all those things because we had to, because survival required us to evolve. She met Lyra's starlight gaze with determination. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our intelligence. It's our refusal to accept limitations. The crystal mind stirred around them, resonating with Sarah's resolve. The quantum patterns beneath her skin flared brighter, holding longer, as if responding to her will rather than random chance. Very well, Lyra said, and Sarah heard newfound respect in her harmonic voice. We will show you all we know, and perhaps together, we will discover what we never could alone. The crystal landscape shifted, creating a training ground that existed in multiple quantum states simultaneously. Sarah took a deep breath, feeling the power of the crystal mind pulse through her changing form. She had 20 years of lost time to make up for, a world to save, and only weeks to master abilities that had taken the Luminaria centuries to perfect. But she was human, and humans had always done their best work under impossible deadlines. The quantum energy coursed through Sarah's transformed body like lightning through crystal. 2 weeks of intensive training had changed her in ways that defied conventional physics. Her flesh had become a hybrid state, neither fully organic nor fully crystalline, but something entirely new. Your pattern is stabilizing, Lyra observed as Sarah manipulated quantum fields with growing confidence. You have achieved in days what took us centuries. Sarah watched the crystalline lattices form and dissolve around her hands, responding to her will rather than random chance. Necessity is a powerful motivator. The Void Hunters are less than a week from Earth now. The quantum display showed the dark entities moving through space, their impossible geometries distorting reality around them. They had accelerated even further, drawn by the increasing quantum activities around Earth. Humanity's experiments with quantum technology had become a dinner bell they couldn't unring. 4 days, Lyra confirmed. But you have mastered abilities we never conceived possible. Your hybrid state allows you to interact with quantum fields while maintaining organic creativity. Watch. Sarah demonstrated, pulling quantum energy into patterns that reflected human neural networks. Where the luminaria's quantum manipulations were precise and crystalline, hers flowed like synaptic pathways, organic and adaptive. The human brain evolved to find patterns in chaos, she explained, watching the energy dance between states of possibility. We don't just adapt to our environment, we reshape it, reimagine it. Maybe that's what you needed all along. Not just knowledge of quantum mechanics, but the ability to improvise with it. The crystal mind hummed around them, resonating with her words. Sarah had learned to interpret its vast consciousness, understanding now that it was neither fully artificial nor fully organic. Like her, it existed in a state of perpetual evolution. We have detected a new problem. Another luminaria, Azure, materialized beside them. Her crystalline form pulsed with urgent patterns. The Void Hunters have changed their approach. Observe. The quantum display shifted, showing the entities splitting into smaller forms, spreading out in an attack pattern Sarah recognized from human military history. They're learning, adapting their strategy based on past encounters. Yes, Lyra's form dimmed with concern. They remember our defenses from centuries ago. They will not allow themselves to be driven off by the same methods. Sarah studied the display, her hybrid mind processing possibilities at quantum speed while maintaining human intuition. Then we don't try to drive them off. We give them exactly what they want, just not in the way they expect. She reached out, manipulating the quantum fields to create a simulation. The Void Hunters feed on quantum potential, the energy of possibility itself. But what happens when you give an organism too much of what it craves? Understanding flickered through the luminaria's light patterns. Overload, Azure whispered. But we tried overwhelming them before. They simply split into smaller forms to absorb the excess energy. Because you try to force raw quantum energy into them, Sarah's fingers danced through the simulation, reshaping it. But what if we gave them something more complex? Something that carries not just energy, but pattern, information, consciousness. She displayed her idea in quantum space, a modified version of the crystal mind's neural network, but based on human synaptic patterns. Chaotic, creative, constantly evolving. The Void Hunters consume quantum potential because it's predictable, digestible. What if we feed them something that restructures itself faster than they can break it down? The crystal mind surged around them, resonating with possibilities it had never considered. The luminaria's forms brightened as they grasped the implications. A quantum virus, Lyra breathed. Not an attack on their energy forms, but on their ability to process what they consume, Sarah finished. Every civilization has limits, even ones that exist between dimensions. We just have to find their equivalent of indigestion. She expanded the simulation, showing how human neural patterns could be encoded into quantum fields, creating an endlessly shifting maze of possibilities. They want to feed on our quantum potential. Let's give them everything at once, every possibility, every pattern, every choice humanity has ever faced or imagined. Let them try to digest the full complexity of human consciousness. It could work. Azure's form pulsed with excitement, but the energy required to encode and transmit such patterns, it would take the combined power of the crystal mind and every luminaria on the planet. And me, Sarah added. I'm the bridge between organic and quantum existence. The template for the virus has to come from an active human consciousness that can manipulate quantum fields. The strain could destroy you, Lyra warned. Your hybrid form is stable, but channeling that much quantum energy while maintaining human thought patterns is exactly what I've been training for, Sarah interrupted. This is why the crystal mind chose me. Why it protected my pod when the others were lost. Human adaptability combined with quantum manipulation is the key, not just to fighting the Void Hunters, but to showing them a new way to exist. The quantum display showed the dark entities moving closer, their impossible shapes distorting space itself. Earth's primitive quantum detection systems would be detecting them soon, if they hadn't already. Terror and panic would follow as humanity faced a threat they couldn't comprehend. Unless Sarah and the Luminaria acted first. "How soon can we begin?" she asked, watching the crystalline patterns beneath her skin pulse with growing power. "The crystal mind is already preparing," Lara gestured, and the landscape around them began to shift, crystal formations rising and realigning themselves into a vast geometric array. But Sarah, no consciousness has ever attempted to maintain individuality while merging with a quantum network of this magnitude. You will need an anchor, something to remind you of your humanity when the quantum fields try to dissolve your identity. Sarah closed her eyes, thinking of Earth, of the crew she had lost, of humanity's relentless drive to explore and understand and evolve. "I know exactly who I am," she said, opening eyes that now shimmered with internal light. "I'm the bridge between what humanity is and what it could become, and I'm not about to let some interdimensional parasites stop our evolution." The crystal mind pulsed with approval as the Luminaria began to take their positions in the array. Sarah stood at its center, feeling quantum energy build around her like a gathering storm. The time for training was over. The real test of humanity's potential was about to begin. The quantum array hummed with power as thousands of Luminaria channeled their energy through the crystal mind. Sarah stood at its center, her hybrid form resonating with frequencies that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. The crystalline patterns beneath her skin had spread, covering her entire body in shifting lattices of light. "The Void Hunters have crossed the heliopause," Azure reported, her form pulsing with urgency. "Earth's quantum detection grid has gone dark. They're consuming all quantum activity in their path." Sarah nodded, monitoring the approaching entities through her connection to the crystal mind. Humanity's first line of defense had fallen without even understanding what hit it. Earth's most advanced quantum computers were going offline as the Void Hunters drained their potential. "They're moving faster than predicted," Lyra observed. "The quantum signature of your transformation is drawing them like a beacon." "Good," Sarah's voice resonated with harmonics that weren't quite human anymore. "Let them come. Everything's ready." The crystal landscape around them had reorganized itself into a vast transmitter, designed to broadcast quantum patterns across dimensional boundaries. The Luminaria were positioned at key nodes, their consciousness linked through the crystal mind in a network of impossible complexity. "We can begin the encoding process," Lyra confirmed. "But Sarah, once we start, there's no turning back. The amount of quantum energy required. We'll either transform the Void Hunters or destroy me in the attempt," Sarah finished. "I know, but humanity didn't come this far by playing it safe." She took a deep breath, feeling the power of the crystal mind pulse through her transformed body. "Begin transmission." The quantum array activated, and Sarah's consciousness expanded beyond the boundaries of her hybrid form. Through her connection to the crystal mind, she could sense the Void Hunters approaching, vast entities of pure quantum entropy, consuming possibility itself as they moved through space. She reached deeper, drawing on memories of Earth, of human history, of every struggle and triumph that had brought her species to this point. The crystal mind amplified these patterns, encoding them into quantum fields that rippled out through dimensional space. The first wave hit the Void Hunters like a tsunami of consciousness. Sarah felt their surprise, their confusion as they encountered quantum patterns that refused to be simply consumed. Human creativity, human adaptability, human determination, all encoded into energy they couldn't easily digest. "They're slowing," Azure reported. "The pattern is disrupting their feeding process." Sarah pushed harder, channeling more of humanity's essence into the quantum fields. The history of human evolution, the endless drive to survive and thrive against impossible odds, the ability to imagine and create and transform. She forced it all into the transmission. The Void Hunters reacted, trying to split into smaller forms as they had when facing the Luminaria centuries ago. But Sarah was ready. She shifted the pattern, making it more chaotic, more human. Each time they divided, they spread the quantum virus further among themselves. It's working. Lyra's voice held wonder. Their consumption rate is dropping. They're trying to process the patterns instead of simply absorbing them. Sarah felt the strain of maintaining her consciousness against the vast quantum energies flowing through her. Her hybrid form flickered between states, threatening to dissolve into pure energy. But she held on, anchored by the very human memories she was transmitting. Then something unexpected happened. One of the Void Hunters, instead of trying to consume the pattern, began to resonate with it. Sarah felt its vast consciousness touch hers, not with hunger, but with curiosity. "They're learning," she gasped, struggling to maintain the connection. "Not just consuming. The patterns are teaching them a new way to interact with quantum potential." Through her link to the crystal mind, Sarah sensed more of the entities shifting, their impossible geometries beginning to pulse in rhythm with the human patterns she was broadcasting. They were evolving, adapting not to better consume, but to better understand. "Incredible," Azure breathed. "They're not just stopping their attack, they're transforming." Sarah's vision blurred as the strain became almost unbearable. The quantum energies were threatening to tear her hybrid form apart. But through the pain, she felt something else. A new pattern emerging from the chaos, a synthesis of human consciousness and void entity. "More power," she commanded, her voice barely recognizable through the quantum harmonics. "They're at a tipping point. We need to show them everything." The Luminaria responded, channeling every bit of energy that could spare through the array. Sarah's form became a living conduit, bridging the gap between organic life and quantum existence. Through her, the full spectrum of human experience flowed into the void: love, hate, fear, hope, the endless cycle of death and rebirth that had driven human evolution from the beginning. The Void Hunters absorbed it all, but not as food, as information, as possibility, as a new way of being. "Sarah," Lyra's voice seemed to come from very far away. "Your pattern is destabilizing. You need to disconnect before—" "Not yet," Sarah gritted through clenched teeth. Crystal tears fell from her eyes, shattering into quantum potential as they hit the ground. They need to understand one last thing, the most human thing of all. She gathered the last reserves of her strength and broadcast the final pattern, the human capacity for change itself. Not just adaptation, but willing transformation. The ability to look at what they were and choose to become something more. The Void Hunters resonated with the pattern, their forms shifting into configurations that defied description. They were neither hunters nor void now, but something new. Something that had learned to create rather than merely consume. As the last of the transmission faded, Sarah felt her hybrid form finally begin to fail. The quantum energies had taken their toll. Her consciousness started to dissolve into the crystal mind. But the Luminaria were ready. They had learned from her just as she had learned from them. Their combined power reached out, catching her dissolving pattern and holding it together. "Don't you dare give up now, Sarah Chen," Lyra's voice cut through the quantum static. "Humanity still needs its bridge." Consciousness returned slowly, like light filtering through crystal. Sarah found herself floating in a space between dimensions, her hybrid form stabilized by the combined power of the Luminaria and what remained of the Void Hunters. No, not Void Hunters anymore. They had become something else, something that defied easy classification. "Welcome back," Lyra's familiar harmonic tones reached her. "You very nearly became one with the quantum field permanently." Sarah's awareness solidified, her hybrid body reforming from pure energy back into its crystalline organic state. Through her connection to the crystal mind, she could sense the profound changes that had swept through local space-time. The entities that had once threatened to consume all quantum potential now moved through the dimensions with purpose rather than hunger. Their impossible geometries had transformed into patterns that reflected both void and light, destruction and creation. "They're building something," she observed, watching as the former Void Hunters manipulated quantum fields in ways that even the Luminaria had never imagined. "What are they doing?" "Creating bridges," Azure materialized beside them, her crystalline form pulsing with excitement. Between dimensions, between states of being. They've taken your lesson about transformation and applied it on a cosmic scale. Through the quantum display, Sarah watched as the entities established networks of possibility, connecting different layers of reality in stable configurations. Where they had once consumed quantum potential, they now cultivated it, creating spaces where different forms of existence could interact and evolve. They needed this, Sarah realized, understanding flowing through her hybrid consciousness. They were trapped in a cycle of consumption because they couldn't imagine another way to interact with quantum energy. Human consciousness showed them alternatives. Your pattern of continuous adaptation and willing change resonated with their fundamental nature, Lyra agreed. They were beings of pure potential who had forgotten how to transform themselves rather than just their environment. Sarah moved through the quantum space, marveling at how natural it felt now. Her human mind remained intact, but it had expanded to encompass perceptions and abilities that would have seemed impossible just weeks ago. She was neither human, nor luminaria, nor void entity, but something new, a bridge between states of being. Earth's quantum grid is coming back online, Azure reported. The primitive quantum computers are reactivating, but they're detecting something they don't understand. Sarah smiled, feeling the pulse of human innovation even across the vast distance. They're sensing the bridges. Humanity's about to discover they're not alone in the quantum realm. Are they ready? Lyra's form shimmered with concern. Such knowledge could be dangerous if misused. Humanity is never really ready for its next evolutionary step, Sarah replied. We're too curious, too driven to wait for readiness. But that's our strength. We leap into the unknown because we can imagine something better on the other side. She reached out with her hybrid senses, touching the quantum fields that now connected Earth to a much larger reality. Through the bridges left by the transformed entities, she could feel humanity's first tentative steps into true quantum consciousness. Researchers around the world were already detecting patterns they couldn't explain, asking questions that would lead them toward profound discoveries. I need to go back, she said finally. They'll need guidance to understand what's happening. Someone to help them bridge the gap between what they are and what they could become. The Luminaria exchanged patterns of light that Sarah now recognized as their equivalent of laughter. You've changed too much to simply return to your old life, Lyra observed. You exist in multiple states simultaneously. Even now, your form shifts between dimensions. Then I'll be exactly what they need, living proof that humanity can evolve beyond its current limitations without losing its essential nature. Sarah watched the crystalline patterns flow beneath her skin, no longer fighting the transformation but embracing it. Every bridge needs anchors on both sides. I'll be the anchor between human and post-human existence. Through the quantum display, she could see the transformed void entities continuing their work, creating stable pathways between dimensions. The Luminaria were already beginning to use these bridges, extending their influence and knowledge to other worlds that were ready to evolve. And humanity, with its endless curiosity and determination, would soon join this new quantum community. It won't be easy, Lyra cautioned. You'll be neither fully human nor fully transcended. Some may fear you, others may try to exploit your abilities. Sarah laughed, the sound carrying harmonic overtones that rippled through quantum space. When has humanity ever chosen the easy path? We thrive on challenges. They drive us to adapt, to innovate, to become more than we are. She reached out, connecting with the crystal mind one last time. Its vast consciousness had changed too, influenced by the human patterns she had introduced. It was more dynamic now, more creative in its quantum manipulations. The void entities sought to consume quantum potential because they couldn't imagine another way to interact with it, she said. Humanity will seek to understand it, to shape it, to use it to fuel our evolution. And thanks to what we've learned here, we'll have guides for that journey. Sarah felt the transformed void entities resonate with her words. They would watch humanity's progress with interest, no longer seeing them as food, but as partners in the ongoing dance of cosmic evolution. The Luminaria would serve as teachers, sharing their knowledge of quantum existence while learning from humanity's creative chaos. And she would stand between them all, a living example of what was possible when different forms of existence learn to cooperate rather than consume. A bridge made of flesh and crystal and quantum potential, helping humanity take its next steps into an infinite cosmos of possibility. "Let's go home," she said, her hybrid form shifting in preparation for the journey. "The real evolution is about to begin." The crystal mind pulsed in agreement, and the quantum bridges lit up with new potential. Humanity's first steps into true quantum civilization wouldn't be marked by violence or consumption, but by transformation and growth. They would face it as they have faced every previous challenge, with curiosity, courage, and the unwavering belief that they could become something more. Sarah Chen, no longer merely human but not quite anything else, prepared to guide her species into that uncertain future. The quantum storm that had stranded her 25 years ago hadn't been an ending after all. It had been humanity's first step into a much larger universe.